continually.
Well, those people in Carlisle must be thinking that.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not flooded.
Floods.
Yeah. As in the days of Noah, they will be saying.
And in the days of Sodom and
Someone's
Gomorrah.
house goes floating by.
There's a lot of rain up there, aren't there?
Terrible Sunday. Yeah, up in Cumbria.
Oh, because do you know the current housing bubble that's in England and that? Would you say that's a fake thing, a manufactured thing?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
At the 2008
vanity,
crash, house prices should have gone down a lot further than they did.
Yeah.
But they were artificially propped up by bailing out the banks, by pumping billions into the banks.
The government was forced to bail out the banks, weren't they? Because if they didn't bail out the banks, then we would have gone to our current accounts and there'd have been nothing there.
Correct.
And there would have been all this upheaval.
That's right, but that was that was a bubble that produced that. So they kept the bubble inflated.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
They
if
had
it,
to.
if it
We've got
happens
a big
again
crash
on,
coming soon, haven't we?
They're going to be, yeah.
if it happens
Yeah.
on the same scale,
It's going to be on a bigger scale.
yeah, is there enough money to prop in the world to prop the banks up?
Yeah, again, where does the money come from?
Exactly.
It's
Yes.
not based upon nothing.
It's not.
it's
It's
not.
not. It's not. Is
It's
it?
purely based on sort of what people believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's speculative.
You know,
Speculation, isn't
At the
it?
end of the day, yeah, it is. At the end of the day, if someone gives you a £10 note, you take it because
Faith
you
that it's good.
believe that when you go to a shop,
You can buy £10
you will
worth
get
of goods.
£10 worth of goods, and as long as
Yeah.
everybody believes
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
it will carry on
But
circulating.
currently, isn't something like only 97% of currency in circulation is actually based upon GDP, whereas the 3% rather is
That's
based
right.
on
Yes,
GDP.
it's much the other
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Yeah.
And 97% is
Yeah.
actually created through debt,
Yeah.
which means that has to be paid back with interest.
That's
There's
right.
not enough money in the system to do that.
Absolutely. And the thing is that as long as it keeps circulating, you know, that we pay a bit off and that the money keeps floating around, everyone keeps going. But in reality, there is an end to it. When someone decides, no, I'm not accepting this anymore, then the whole thing, once it
Yeah.
stops in one area, the whole thing comes down.
It's probably going to stop in some
Dominoes.
high order area, like a big international bank or something, or a country is going to refuse.
And it started, the last crash, I think, started with the subprime housing market, didn't it?
Yeah.
They tried to get their money from them and they couldn't pay it back, so that
That's
collapsed.
right.
That reduced
Well, they were
confidence
lending
in
money
the-
silly, weren't they?
Yeah.
They're lending
Well,
money
it-
to people without even seeing if
Well,
they
they
had
were
a job.
forced to. In Japan, what caused their problem was they would often, say you went to the banks for a mortgage, they would give you 3 times as much as the actual value of the house.
That's what we had when we started
That's
ours.
it.
3 times as much?
Yeah,
Yeah. And they're calling it spare money in
yeah, I
Japan.
know.
Well, I can
When people were buying a
remember.
house.
Yeah, they would go to the bank, get a loan out, the house would be worth, say, for the sake of argument, 100 grand. They would be given 300 grand. And that's how much they'd have to pay back.
Yeah, that's
Well,
what
I can remember Alistair Darling, the Chancellor Exchequer, under Blair, well, under Gordon Brown, as the Prime Minister, being asked about the debt mountain in Britain. He says, not a problem. He said, because in Britain there is £1 trillion worth of assets. Right, so if we've got £1 trillion worth of assets and we've got
It's
800
gone beyond that
billion
now, though, hasn't it?
pounds worth of debt, we're
Yeah.
okay, we've got equity of 200 billion.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, you know, your assets, who values those?
Yeah,
You
exactly,
know,
yeah.
while they're
Yeah.
floating around up here being pumped up to that level,
Yeah.
and that's what happened. The levels crashed. The
Yeah.
confidence
Based on the
has gone,
currency, isn't
and
it?
that
So
was it.
this country now is in debt.
The country's
Yeah.
hugely in debt,
It's-
as
it's
is the
worse
United
than-
States.
A problem with the amount of currency within the system as well, that causes, because the value of a thing is determined by supply and demand, isn't
Yeah,
it? So if
that's
there's
right.
a massive supply of money,
Yeah,
that will decrease its value, which
that's
means
right.
that
Which
things like bread
results
should
in
go
inflation.
down. Yeah.
Yeah, quantitative easing.
Yeah, quantitative.
But currently I've heard that the reason why food is so cheap
Bless
still
you.
is because farms and stuff like that are subsidised by the government.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will we come out of the common market, Chris?
I think we'll either be thrown out with vengeance or we will choose to go out.
Well, don't you reckon that they'll use, because with the Japan thing, they wanted them to fulfil certain criteria, like the IMF and the central banks wanted them to change their economic structure from a
Or
very
Greece.
successful economic thing to a very unsuccessful one, and that basically laid them open to be pillaged by the rest. Do you think the European central bank will do the same? It could do the same thing to England. It could basically commit a kind of financial terrorism
I think we obviously did a foolish thing by deserting the Commonwealth when we did. We
Mm.
put our lot in with Europe
Yeah.
because we had preferential trade links with all the Commonwealth, far
Yeah.
better than
Yeah.
any trade links with Europe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's obviously now no longer available to us.
Yeah.
Is it still operating the Commonwealth?
The Commonwealth is
Yeah.
a political organisation,
It's
whereas
not as
in
it
those,
was though. It's not
in those
commercial.
days it was economic as well,
Yeah.
because there was,
Yeah.
you know, there was
Yeah.
we used to get preferential treatment on buying agricultural produce from the Commonwealth and
Canada.
exporting industrial goods to them and so on. But we went into Europe, where I remember an interview on the radio with a French minister, and he was being questioned about Britain's reluctance to join in with all the European stuff, and he just said, look, you've got to remember that the European Union was created to protect German industry and French agriculture, and that's why it's going to stay.
Yeah.
Mm.
And we are stupid enough to actually collude with that.
Well, it's not stupid, corrupt enough, rather.
Yeah.
I'll say it in the upper echelons.
Yeah. But the powers that be are ordained of God.
Yeah, and he puts a basest of men on there, doesn't he? The basest of men.
Yeah.
What
So-
are those things?
Yeah. I realised, I was talking to Stephen about this the other day, because he's into politics as well. I was saying, actually, in reality, we were an anarchic system. Because no matter, we got this, like in Rome, we had the thin facade of the Senate, but below that you have the Emperor, and he was backed by the Praetorian Guard.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's money. I can go up to a guy in the street and he's got a price. If I offer him enough money, he will do whatever I ask him to do. That means money is in control. Might has always been right. Might's always determined what's going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the reason for the English Civil War. It was the control of money, Parliament or the King.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You know, at one point they used massive stones in this island. I can't remember where it was, but these massive stones. That was their currency. You'd have it leaned up against your house. And there was even one stone that was down in the sea, irretrievable. Nobody doubted who owned it, and they used it as currency. They said, "Oh, a certain percentage of my stone for this produce."
Absolutely. No intrinsic value in any of it.
No.
Yeah.
Even gold doesn't have any intrinsic
No,
value.
certainly
It's just good as a form of currency because it's not volatile.
That's right.
Volatility should have nothing to do with currency.
Well, it is what it is, isn't it?
Mm.
And it's that way for a reason, I guess.
Well, God's got everything in control. whatever.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anything made of man will have an end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Including man himself.
But, you know, Babylon, it says that, you know, you bow down to this image of gold.
Mm.
It is interesting, though, just theoretically how it works and stuff like that.
But people don't want to really think about it because, like I say, as soon as they do, things are in jeopardy. Everyone has to carry on ignoring the fact that it's on a knife edge.
Yeah.
It's actually remarkably simple as well. That's what I was stunned by. All these economics, they try and make it to be this really complex, mystical thing, but it's remarkably simple. It's just, it's a big con, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like, that's all it is. That's what, because people try and understand a con as not being a con, and that's the frustration that makes it mystical. But if you say just a con, you know, it comes from nothing.
Yeah. Well, because we all live under that regime. We don't, you know, we're all used to it. We don't have to analyse it.
We know it's not stable, but I wonder what the when it does crash. I wonder how it will manifest itself. How it will be for the normal sort of Joe on the street, so to speak.
Well, it'd be catastrophic.
Losing houses,
Yeah.
can't buy food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No food
Do you think
supply.
that could be because this empire that we're in at the moment, because there is an almost global empire now, pretty much, it is coming to its end. Because like, you look at the cycles of empires, and the last phase is always decadence. And there are so many similarities between the end of Rome and our time now, like how athletes and sportsmen were paid so much,
Yeah. Yeah.
and even chefs were paid so much as well. It is crazy that the amount of correlations. So do you think this is spanning the end of Babylon's dying now? Because that is pretty much what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Because it's another event for the end. The end of the age. Which has got to be close.
Yeah, I think it's got to be close.
And it almost seems like America, its foreign policy, the way it acts, it just seems like it's shooting itself all the time. And England, as you were saying as well.
Sadly, yeah, the two great Israel nations have just lost their way.
Yeah.
Lost their way.
Yeah. That's Britain
And the United
America.
States. Yeah.
Yeah. Ephraim and Manasseh.
Yeah. Sad, you know,
Yeah.
when it says, you know, when like Pharaoh said, you know, when they were starving, the people go to Joseph. See, Joseph has the answer. Ephraim and Manasseh. But unfortunately, they've corrupted themselves to such an extent that they're losing their position of authority in the world.
Yeah.
Do you think they will lose their position of authority?
I don't think they can, because God will not allow Israel to be overrun. I mean, all this influx of foreign immigrants and all the rest of it, that is not going to. We will not get swamped by that.
But I mean, they could not be swamped. I mean, England and America could maintain itself and still not be the centre of power in the world. Because it could be that England and America maintain themselves as a prosperous nation, as a working nation, but power could move over to like Russia and
China.
China and that.
Yeah.
Or China, yeah. I think if the age lasted long enough, it would perhaps shift to China, but I don't think it will.
It is shifting that way, though, isn't it?
Definitely.
It isn't. It isn't. I mean, you still have to say that the Chinese have a military presence in the South China Seas and all the rest of it, and they're extending their naval power, but they do not compare to the United States of America.
They've got bases all around the world, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, the United States battle group, you know, naval battle groups are enormous.
Yeah.
Don't mess with them, do you?
I was listening to Putin talking to a reporter who was saying how for years Russia hasn't really even put air patrols outside of its own territory, but America has got air patrols all over the world with nuclear weapons armed the whole time, and it's almost like America's baiting Russia and China, because they're talking about the tactical nukes they've got now, and they're doing it blatantly on the news, which if you've got an eye for power plays and stuff like that, that's like, come on then. You know, that seems to be that's what they're saying.
That's right, yeah. It's like a kid in the corner baiting them over, isn't it? Taunting them, that's right, yeah.
But in the sense that if you've got all that power, there must be a massive temptation to want to use it to implement it.
Yeah.
Well, think of all the billions of pounds they spent. It
Yeah.
must take every year to keep that well oiled.
Who are we speaking of now? The United States.
Well,
Yeah.
both really.
I don't think the USA would. Cause I think there's what's unique about Israel is that God put Israel through the furnace of affliction in Egypt, and that's what it says, that God redeemed Israel out of the furnace of affliction, and that's why He says, you know, when a stranger comes into the land, He said they'll have the same treatment as you have, because you know what it's like
To be a stranger.
to be a stranger in a foreign land and held in bondage, and the fact is that is in the psyche of the Israel peoples. They are lovers of freedom.
It's like the hippie revolution
We
that
are.
started off in America. You had, at the time, the Cold War happening, all this talk about against commies and stuff like that, and from the middle of all that, you had this beautiful revolution coming up. It lost its way,
Yeah.
but still, all the ideals it was proclaiming, what it was hoping for and reaching out for, was beautiful. You know, like
Yeah.
going up and putting flowers in guns. I mean, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit idealistic. And
Yeah, I know
all
it's
that.
idealistic, but it's
Yeah.
still, you can't blame them for wanting good.
No.
Yeah.
No. But it's in the psyche of the Israel nations to love freedom,
Yeah, definitely.
and they are not oppressive people.
No.
You know, I mean, you look at it wherever, like in the Second World War, whatever. When the United States and America speaks of, you know, these are the thousands of Manasseh and the 10,000s of Ephraim, they shall push with their horns to the end of the earth. When they invaded Europe, they did not then subjugate Europe. They liberated Europe.
Yeah. And that seems to be, even in the news we hear, whether you believe that these wars are good or not, when they went into Iraq and Afghanistan, they tried to give an order, didn't they?
Yeah,
And
that's
set the
right.
people free and
Yeah,
give them a
that's
democracy,
it. That's right.
didn't they?
Whereas when the Red Army advanced across Eastern Europe, it put them in shackles.
Yeah.
That was the difference.
And after World War II with Japan, we gave them the means to produce such a prosperous
Absolutely.
and awesome economy.
And Germany, you know,
Yeah, Germany.
having had to fought